Hello, Sid Roth here with Keenan Bridges, and Keenan and I have known each other a long time. In fact, he's on my board of directors. But Keenan just told me about a dream, and it hasn't been the right time to release it. But he says, now is the time.
Well, thanks, Sid. The Lord gave me this prophetic dream some time ago about President Donald Trump. When I first attempted to release the dream, it came against major backlash, major hindrance, even through social media. It was not able to actually be posted and gain the traction that it was supposed to. It was censored heavily. And so God
But you know, Keenan, even beyond the censorship, as an African-American pastor, you have a multicultural church, but you have a large African-American contingent. When they find out about this dream, I don't know how you had, I'm going to use a Hebrew word, I don't know how you had the chutzpah to do it.
Well, you know, I tell you, Sid, I believe that we're in very desperate times, to be honest with you. This is one of the most critical times that the church has ever been in. And whatever happens over the next 3 to 6 months will determine the next decade of the church and the future of America.
I believe that with all of my heart, Keenan.
Yeah. So anyway, when the Lord gave me this dream, it was very detailed, and I'll talk about the last two parts of the dream. So the last two parts, I was in a cafeteria, and the cafeteria, everyone was wearing all white, and people were going through this cafeteria line. And as they were going through the line, the servants, who were very tall, they were wearing all white, they would know what you wanted before you ordered it. And that's, in a dream, I knew by discernment, by really revelation knowledge, that they were angelic beings. And when I got toward the end of the line, I realized that I wanted to order something else, and the angel knew exactly what I wanted. And my wife was in the dream with me, and she turned to me and said, the Bible from Donald Trump, you have to get the Bible. And as soon as my wife said that in the dream, I was transported to the White House. And when I was transported to the White House, there was a large security desk, and there were two very large Secret Service agents, but they were 8 feet tall. They were very tall. And so what ended up happening was, I go to the security desk, I sign into the security desk, sign my name, and then I look toward the door. There's a huge door. It's a very tall door, unusual door, very narrow, and it was guarded by another huge Secret Service agent, which I knew was an angelic being. And so I looked into the camera above the door, and I said, Mr. President, I can't wait to meet you and to see this Bible. So when I go through the door, there's another security desk. And the man at the desk was someone that I knew growing up, a man named Victor. He was the security agent guarding that desk. And I tried to make small talk with him, but he was not having it. He said, the president will see you, very severe. And so I went down this corridor, and it wasn't the Oval Office. It was another office that looked like a private office for the president. There were large bookshelves. There was a fireplace there. And as I go around, he stands, when President Trump stands up, he's at least 8 to 10 feet tall, extremely tall, and very severe. It was very severe. And he says, let me show it to you. And he takes me to this round desk, very beautiful round desk with a huge ancient book on it, gold gilded pages, leather bound, looked like it was hundreds, maybe even thousands of years old, this book. And he turns the pages and he signs a huge signature in big letters, and he hands me this book. And immediately, well, two things happened. I sort of came out of the dream, but even while I was coming out of the dream, the Lord began to download things when I touched the book. And God said to me, he said, I've made him to be a protector of ancient foundations. And literally, when I came out of the dream, I had a total change of heart, a total change of, I never necessarily hated the president or anything like that, but there were certain things that would be said that would just make me cringe sometimes. And something happened after I had this dream. I just had this burden to pray like never before. I began to pray for him, intercede for him. And the more I began to intercede for him, the more I began to give the understanding of the dream, which I'll go right into that because this is so important. So the angels, right? These are heavenly messengers and ministers. They're servants, right? They're sent to minister. There is a host of angels on the earth right now who have been charged with the next several years of America and to protect those God has put in leadership who are going to be the stewards of this next season. And when I go to the White House, which is very profound, there are different layers of security, which also represent divine protection, angelic protection, because security is always in proportion to the level of threat, right? The higher the threat, the stronger the security. And so I knew that we are in a very serious time right now. There is a huge threat, not only a threat against the future of America, but I also believe in the natural, a threat against the life of the president. And I believe that God has released angelic hosts for protection, calling the church to intercede like never before, because those servants are also intercessors. They're those who have been sent to intercede for him. So, and God spoke to me, Sid, and he told me, he said, I've made him to be a protector of ancient foundations. And then he said this, which I've never mentioned anywhere else but on this interview. He said, honor him and I will honor you. And he took me to Isaiah 45.
Excuse me, do you think that was just for you or for every believer?
I believe every believer.
All right, go ahead.
Every single believer. I think it's really, really important. So, Sid, these ancient foundations, the Bible talks about not to remove the ancient landmark, right? And the consequences of removing the ancient landmark, which the ancient landmark is for spiritual protection. It's our covenant with God. And God showed me that the ancient foundations of prayer, of intercession, the Bible, Christianity, and covenant, because in 1776, when the United States of America became a nation, before they were 13 colonies that were independent, they became a nation and they adopted the Declaration of Independence and eventually the Constitution. This was based upon a divine inspiration. It was something that, of course, we don't put it equal to the Bible, but it was definitely divinely influenced. And it was the same document that became the basis during the Civil Rights Movement for the liberation of Black people in America. Martin Luther King didn't use something other than the Constitution. He invoked the Constitution in order to liberate the Black community. And so I think people need to understand that. So God told me, he says that the ancient foundations are coming under attack. And I knew at that time, Sid, that there was a cabal. There was actually a very diabolical sort of consortium who had conspired against the president and against our nation. And God set him there as a sentinel to stop it.
But wait a second. If I did not know the facts, which I do, and I just judged the president by what I saw on the news, which I don't, I would be persona non wanted in the African American community. How did you do that, Keenan? How did you take look, if God told anyone watching us right now that's a true believer, that our judgment is determined on how we treat Donald Trump as president, they do what you did. But still, every human has a choice. Why did you choose that?
I fear God. I have the fear of the Lord. And Sid, where God speaks, I'm silent. And I think what we have to get to, particularly as an African American community, who for many years were the stewards of spirituality in America. But you have to understand, we have a mainstream media that is extremely manipulative. We have the exploitation of pain and emotion that causes people to not consider facts. You know, when we look at mass incarceration, which has devastated the Black community, 34% of the prison population is Black males. And this was done under some of our favorite, most beloved leaders in the Black community. I mean, Bill Clinton was one of the pioneers of mass incarceration. Joe Biden actually came up with a prison crime bill that's currently devastating the Black community. But people don't see this. And one of the reasons why, what I began to understand when the Lord gave me this dream, is there's a spirit of blindness. There's a spirit of delusion that has been released. It's extremely demonic. And I believe that this is under a severe amount of attack right now. I've gotten death threats, Sid. I've gotten letters from Black leaders accusing me of being a sellout. But all I've spoken is the truth. And I believe that we really need to pray. I believe that we need to pray that the scales will be removed from people's eyes, that people will be able to see clearly and recognize what God is saying in this hour. That's so important to understand. The ancient foundations of America are under attack in ways that we can't even fathom right now. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Every believer and every conscientious person would agree that Black lives matter. If I said to you right now, Black lives matter, you would agree with me. I would agree with that statement. We would all agree. But right. there's a distinct difference between the moniker or the statement that Black lives are valued, just like all lives are valuable, and the movement and the agenda associated with Black Lives Matter or BLM.
Real brief, help me out. Tell me what the real agenda is, not real, what they say their agenda is and why that might be not good for America.
Okay, so I'll give people a little homework assignment. Just go to their website. It's not that hard.
Oh, come on, give us a clue.
You know, if you go and you do the research, you will see that there is a Marxist agenda, and so Marxism is basically it's a social ideology that is anti-Christian, anti-religion, anti-family. Right? It's their agenda is to remove the nuclear family from the scene. They don't want a male being the head of the home. They don't want a woman being submitted to a male in a godly relationship. They don't want traditional roles of gender, male and female. They are against all of those things. And these are the things that are devastating the Black community. It is fatherlessness, and every community for that matter. It is the removal of men from their rightful roles in the home, all the way back from the time of LBJ.
And so that's part of the foundations that God is concerned about.
This is the foundation that is under attack. And God, you see, when people talk about Cyrus, right? Mm-hmm. Isaiah 45, there's a number of things in there that we need to look at. But one of the roles of any Cyrus figure politically is to give respite to the church so that the church can build the house of God. They are to protect the church while they rebuild. And here's the thing that people misunderstand, and I got to say this. People conflate the protector with the builder. This is important to understand. The builder is not the protector. The church is the one tasked with building. But this current administration, President Trump, is the one who's been given the assignment by God to protect the church. And I think, because people will say, well, but he's not this, he's not that, and right. He's not a pastor. He's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be a protector. And I think if people understand that, they can pray more accurately. So I believe that the next several months will determine the next decade of America and the next decade or more of the church. And this is why we're in a crucible right now. That's why I think this message is so urgent, Sid. We are in a crucible for the future of America and for the relevance of the church. And if we don't pray and intercede that the spirit of darkness be lifted from America, from the church, from the Black community, from the white community, from the Latino community, every community, then what we're going to do is we're going to stand the risk of missing out on our destiny for the next several years. And so this is very critical. This is a critical time.